Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire-roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
What I'm saying is, this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Y'all got to feel me. Sing if you're with me, yeah.
Bank text line 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. Drew Barrett in today. Dave Woloshin will be back tomorrow. We both have gone over 84.5, and I feel very, very comfortable about that. We talked about the 5 Alabama football players that have tested positive for the virus. We'll see how that gets sorted out, the protocols that we're going to have to go through as we march to the season. We also want to talk about the life and times of Johnny Majors, and we do it with Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville, on Twitter at Vince Sports. And Vince, Drew Barrett's with me today, so we'll talk about the prodigious life of Johnny Majors, both as a player and as a head coach for the Big Orange. Good afternoon, Vince.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Yeah, there's so much there, and we're still day 2 of really reflecting on Johnny Majors, because like I mentioned, there's so much there as a player, so versatile, playing on offense, defense, special teams, and being great at all those things. And, his career as an assistant coach, career as a head coach, all of the former assistants that went on to be head coaches, 33 of them. I mean, that is an absolutely incredible list of guys in that Johnny Majors coaching tree. That includes the John Grudens and Jimmy Johnson. I mean, there's so many of them that
Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith. I mean, it just goes on and on. So many of them. And then you look at all the incredible players that he coached as well, the Reggie Whites, the Dale Joneses, all of those great receivers that made up that moniker, a wide receiver U. You can go on and on. There's so many of those great players. And then, his story as well, as he won a national championship as Pitt's head coach in '76, and then he left that to come back home to Tennessee, who really needed him more than he needed Tennessee. But he did it. He came home. Loved for it, and they loved him for it. And he got to be the rock star once again that he was when he was a player. And then it took a while for things to uptick, but it finally did happen, and it culminated in that the Sugar Bowls, the '85 season, and the '86 Sugar Bowl in the calendar, where they upset the heavily favored Miami Hurricanes with Vinny Testaverde and all that NFL talent. then won some SEC championships as well, and then obviously the transition with Philip Fulmer too that didn't go well. But we haven't, honestly, the last couple of days we have not really focused on that because there have been so many unbelievable stories, Brett, that we've heard, and even guys like Jimmy Himes and many others that were there from the beginning, long before I got here in 2010, that had even more stories from Coach Majors. And there were things that they hadn't heard before that they were able to find out. Just obviously you're paying for the Majors family. The last couple of days, though, have been neat to let everyone understand how special and unique he was. He was, in the words of Mike Keith, he was a rock star.
Yeah, Vince, obviously Johnny Majors did great things on the football field in Knoxville, not just as a player, but also as a coach. Off the field, though, what kind of legacy will Johnny Majors be remembered by in the community of Knoxville off the field?
Well, he was great with fans, with people, and there's a couple of branches to that, Drew. And one of them is I got a chance to experience him. He was on our afternoon show for about 4 years as a weekly guest during the football season. And oftentimes, as you guys well know, during the football season, you're out on remotes a lot during the week. And so
we used to be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And hopefully we will again at some point.
Yeah.
But we would do a lot of remotes, and so it was incredible to watch him during the people line up to come talk to him, meet him, get autographs, pose for pictures. I mean, he was I don't know if you guys have ever seen Nick Saban during his coach's show, Hey Coach, where he puts the headsets down right away and he mingles, signs autographs, takes pictures. And it was like that rock star type when he'd be out on remote with us a lot of times. And we'd have to, because he was pretty long-winded with his answers, and he just couldn't get it. He just couldn't get enough of that interaction with the fans. And so we'd have to kind of shush him back to get on the headset with us to get back going. So he loved when people would tell him, how important a certain game was and in their lives and what Tennessee football meant to him, to them. That really made him feel great. He was tremendously connected to the fan base. And the other part of it, too, when we're talking about interacting with people, is him dealing with the media. And Jimmy Himes talked about, he told us yesterday how there's times where he'd go to Johnny Majors and say, hey, Coach, I heard this, and this about this player. And he'd either say, well, I don't know, let me find out. He would go find out, and then he would get back to him and say, yeah, you're right. That's what happened. Or he'd know and say, yes, that's right. He had an understanding of what the media did, and he didn't hold it against them. Jimmy told another story where one time he misunderstood what he said, so he was writing for the News Sentinel at the time, and he put it out there, and it was wrong. So when he talked to Johnny Majors about it, he apologized, and he said, you know what, sometimes I can get to mumbling. So if you ever don't understand what I said, just call me.
And he'll clarify it. All right, I know y'all have talked about him as a player, and in him as a player, most of those people aren't around to vouch for it. Gus Manning could regale you for hours on Johnny Majors, the player story, and Haywood Harris and Bud Ford and other UT historians. And Vince, I said yesterday, the number one player and then later great coach in history of the SEC, it's Steve Spurrier. But I think number two, as player and renowned coach, particularly at their alma mater, I think Johnny Majors is second.
I think there's an excellent argument for that. I know in terms of popularity, I don't think anybody rivaled Coach Majors when you looked at him just as a player. I don't think anybody rivaled him until Peyton Manning came along.
That was it.
I think what enhanced Johnny Majors' popularity is he got to come back a second time and have success as a head coach, in addition to all those memories of him as a player. Charles Davis said, John Majors was Tennessee. Tennessee was John Majors. And I think that is so perfectly said. And yes, the player part of it was a big chunk of that. And he would often, even though he didn't mind being, I think he really relished being a kind of holding court with, whether he was in the media or with fans or whatever. But when he would talk about his career as a player, he would often send it back to his family and his brothers and talk about
and
Bobby
his dad
and his dad. Absolutely. So he was a great player, but he oftentimes would kind of send it another direction when you brought that up to him. And one quick story on Bobby. Bobby was on our afternoon show yesterday, and he told a great story to where Bobby, being the younger brother of Johnny Majors, that when Johnny Majors was at Iowa State, he recruited his younger brother Bobby to go play there. And Bobby said, no.
He didn't have a chance. He's going to UT.
Yeah. No, he said he didn't want to go there because he knew Johnny would be too tough on him as his brother. So he said, no, I'm not going there. So just a really interesting and one of the many great stories we got yesterday.
Yeah, Vince, going forward, especially into this 2020 season, has the University of Tennessee announced any special way that they're going to honor Johnny Majors this year?
No, I think that's a little bit soon. I mean, we're still doing on the reflection stage, things like that. I mean, a lot of us are trying to figure out how they're still going to handle a lot of the protocol getting players back. So, and then what does the stadium look like at that point? I'm sure they'll have something, whether it's helmet decal or something on the field, or they will do it right. Tennessee typically does. And so I don't think they've made that decision yet. Do have some time, so I expect it to be classy, whatever they do.
You mentioned until Peyton Manning, I thought the same thing until Peyton Manning came along. The number one for sure on the offensive side of the ball was Johnny Majors as a player in that 10-0 regular season in 56. Came up, he was 10-0 when they had the actual vote for the Heisman, and then they lost it to Baylor in the bowl game. Mm-hmm. And then Peyton came along a long time after that, and he eclipsed him. Peyton Manning's the number one Tennessee football player. Who would be 3 and 4? Would it be Reggie White? Would it be Doug Atkins? Who would be the next grouping?
Those would be a couple that would come to mind as often as we hear Al Wilson's name. He's up there as well. And then anytime, of course, you can be a part of the championships or the championship at Tennessee, that would extend it. And his leadership too. That's always the bar we hear from people. Whenever leadership comes up, they're like, man, we need more Al Wilsons. Well, they're not just printing them at the local print shop.
They don't make them like that. I thought he was as important to that 90s building group for the defensive side as Peyton and T. Martin as they were to the offensive side. And then I'll go interior lineman, if I could add one more, Chad Clifton.
Yeah, another, glue guy, leadership. And then, anytime you can back up like Chad Clifton and Peyton Manning, anytime you can back up an outstanding NFL career to your college career, I think it enhances how you're viewed big picture, and it amplifies what you did in college. Real quick, you're talking when you set it up in your question, you mentioned Johnny Majors and how he missed out on the Heisman Trophy to Paul Hornung. The last time that a player had a losing record that won the Heisman Trophy, and that still really irks Tennessee fans, along with obviously Peyton Manning snub as well. But we heard a great story. Jimmy Himes told this too yesterday, that you mentioned Gus Manning also. Gus Manning worked in the athletic department, PR, media relations, things like that. And Johnny Majors and Gus Manning had that relationship, as you know, Brett, that they would gig each other all the time. Yeah, so Johnny Majors was like, "Oh, you just love Paul Hornung. You send him daisies and this and that." and he said, "Why you didn't even help me win the Heisman Trophy? Why couldn't you help me win that?" And Gus Manning was like, Well, I had to work like heck just to get you second place.
That's right. Drew, you got a question?
Oh yeah, that's a great story. Going back to the what Brett was saying about the 3 and 4, obviously you can't see this, Vince, but I'm actually sitting here in one of my Ravens polo. Where would Jamal Lewis rank as far as Tennessee lore was on that '98 team?
He was, I think because of some of the off the field stuff, I think that brings him down some, and he's gotten things right. It sounds like, but I do think that he's not quite on that level. Another name, honestly, that comes to mind that is a little bit more recent for me that I think is out there and may even continue to grow if he comes back this fall, and that's Eric Berry. What Eric Berry has gone through and coming back from cancer, and if he comes back and is effective this year, goodness, if he can be a part of a Super Bowl contender, he's always been beloved for his character, for his leadership, and he's another one that's way up there, I think, on that list.
Vince, and I know. I know I hadn't done well. How is Gus Manning?
He's in a care facility and
very frail.
And so it's it's tough just to see him not quite the way he was, but
right.
He's still he's still trucking and I know there's.
And it was that great tweet last summer when Peyton went to visit him.
Yeah, and he's another guy that just the amazing stories, and as long as he's been there, and going back to General Nealon, I mean, it is incredible how the stories that Gus Manning has, and we're very fortunate in our group at our station on the Sports Animal, where it's like 4 of us from the station, and just to the right of Jimmy Himes in our group of 4 seats at the end of the row in the press box in Neyland Stadium is Gus Manning. And they still put a plaque there because he hadn't been able to go to the games. They put a plaque there. His seat is saved. And we cherish those times where he would talk about what was going on during the game. Oh, this punt's going to be bad. Watch. And then the guy would shank it 28 yards, So he still has been so incredibly sharp, and as other times, just like my experiences with Johnny Majors, just listening and talking to Gus Manning, boy, I cherish those. He'd always give me grief. He loved the fact that I had a little rolling laptop bag, and everywhere he saw me, UT events, I'd have the rolling bag. He's like, "Hey, there it is. You moving in?" So that was kind of how he identified me a little bit. So that is very special, and I hope Gus hangs in there.
Vince, great stuff. Thank you so much for your time. And I know, while sad, it is the fond remembrance of the life and times of Johnny Majors. And thank you for joining us today and sharing some of those. Thank you, Vince.
Absolutely. Great to be on with you guys. You guys have a great weekend.
Thanks, Vince.
You got it. Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville, and we were talking about the legendary sports information figure. And Drew, the modern sports information office largely was born out of the Tennessee athletics department post-World War II with the aforementioned Gus Manning and the late Haywood Harris, and then a lot of great lieutenants through the years, Bud Ford and others. And, at the University of Memphis, we have that great resource in Bob Wynn, the guy that feels like he's been at everything, that can paint a picture of every game for you. One time I had Gus Manning, and he was telling me self-deprecatingly, really digging at himself. He goes, "Yeah, everybody tells me how great our PR shop is." He said, "Let's go over our 4 Heisman Trophy runners-up. Tennessee is clearly the greatest school not to have a Heisman winner." He said in 51, Hank Laricella came in second to a guy from the Ivy League from Princeton. 1956, Johnny Majors lost to a guy on a team that went 2-8. Heath Schuler loses to a basketball player, to Charlie Ward, and Peyton Manning loses to a defensive back. How good are we?
Yeah, when you lay out the numbers like that, it does look like they hadn't had a lot of success. But ultimately, it's not really their job. They don't get to vote for it, but they run the campaigns as well as they can.
You can just do so much. We will finish out, speaking of much, we will finish out this hour on Sports Time with Drew in today for Dave, and we will talk some of the return plans for the Grizzlies and the restart for the NBA, and might even look at those 8 games. That's next on Sports Time.
56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 115 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. So easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. Stock up heavy on all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet. Hey, sports fans, you already know about the great steaks at the Butcher Shop Steakhouse, a Memphis tradition since 1981. They specialize in hand-cut aged beef right over that hickory charcoal. But did you know the Butcher Shop also has great seafood items, from fresh Atlantic salmon with dill sauce, pan-seared red snapper with sautéed shrimp and Cajun cream sauce, Canadian cold water lobster tails, crab stuffed shrimp, homemade lump crab cakes, and a whole lot more. Oh, and don't forget the Fresh Burger Fridays for only $8.95. Come in, enjoy a fantastic dinner at the Butcher Shop. If you need a great private party, the Butcher Shop is your place. 6 different private rooms, seating from 12 to 250, all equipped with audio-visual. Rehearsals, business dinners, lunch, and weddings. You call the Butcher Shop at 901-757-4244. Or you can visit the website at butchershop.com. Just drop in, 107 South Germantown Parkway.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
For the ones we trust to always be there. For the ones caring for others. For the ones who keep things going, no matter where they are. In extraordinary times, extraordinary people step up, like the ones standing guard and standing on the front lines, and the ones who are staying apart while still working together. With your efforts, we will get through this. We're grateful for all you do. Visit Grainger.com for resources that can help as you create your recovery plan. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wilson and Brett Norsworthy.
We welcome you back in, closing out hour number 1 on this Thursday afternoon, June 4th, 2020. We know the schedule will be for the Grizzlies, the 8 games that were coming up in order when it got shut down on Tuesday night, the last game for the Grizzlies, Tuesday night, March 10th. All right, Drew, I don't know if I want to go even in lightly shaded pencil. Let's just go roundabout. Let's go.
I mean, I got a ballpoint pen right here. I'll put it in black ink.
You're going indelible ink on the Orlando plan?
No. Lightly shaded pencil. I'll get a lightly shaded pencil. I'm not that bold. I'm not that bold.
I either I don't want to go against you come football time, or you know nothing and I can't wait to football time. I think if you're that confident on this, I'm scared of you come football time. You're locked in.
I wouldn't be scared, Brad. It's just like around SEC media days when we make the preseason picks. We know everything.
We know everything.
By week 2, we don't know nothing.
No, nothing. No, week 2, on Labor Day, we know nothing.
We don't know anything.
I always call Labor Day Mulligan Monday of the year, when literally 1 year for my national championship game, they both started 0-1.
Well, that's why when you play golf with a lot of people, you're allowed two off the first tee. So take that first mulligan when you can.
Hit till you're happy. All right, it's Portland, Utah, San Antonio, OKC, Milwaukee, New Orleans twice, and Boston. 3 and 5 would go a long way.
Yeah, just due to the fact that you got Milwaukee, Boston on that schedule, that ultimately looks like 2 straight losses. Unless you might be able to get one of those top tier teams. You don't have to worry about a play-in game, and they're just trying to get back into the rhythm. So if you are able to come out and get somewhat of a rhythm, who knows? The Grizzlies could end up doing well, especially against those higher-seeded teams that really don't have that much to fight for.
And I can't remember the exact wording today, but Gabe Kuhn had a pretty good tweet on the 29-1 vote in Portland being the one dissenter. And it was like, really? Portland? I mean, you're getting one of the biggest breaks ever, Portland.
Exactly.
What are you voting no for?
I think they might be voting because they don't – I haven't really seen a full breakdown of how the lottery is going to shape out. Maybe they were hoping for a higher draft pick, just ready to be done with it like Damian Lillard was a month ago. And then when they talked about the 22-game team expansion into this round of teams in Orlando, he was on board. Maybe the front office just like, you know what, let's just mail it in, get to the lottery, worry about 2021.
It has already been one of those years of all time. And it's going to look and feel very different even when we get started, if we get restarted. You could get teams that get down there to Orlando and they lose the first 2 or 3 or 4, and they get a big case of I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, because how is it going to affect the draft lottery?
I'm ready to get home.
There's some teams I've read scenarios that, like a team like Portland, a team possibly even like New Orleans, how kind of far back they are, especially Phoenix there. If Phoenix goes 0-8, they could possibly jump some Eastern teams for worse records, just as far as percentage-wise goes.
That's right. They sure could. And you get one more nice piece with what they have among the younger pieces there. But this is not a great draft year. Last year was the year to get better in the draft.
Well,
it doesn't appear to be a great draft year.
But then again, how do we really know what years are going to be great? It's a crapshoot to begin with. So who knows if somebody is going to be able to come out of here that, we're going to find somebody that got picked 13th who's going to ultimately be a Hall of Famer. I've never really bought into that. This is a strong class. This is a weak class. Before anybody's actually played a minute in the NBA, we don't know. That's right. Marc Gasol went with the 45th pick? Yeah. And he ended up pretty good, didn't he? And many others like that, and some undrafted. And if Memphis misses the playoff, their first round pick owed to Boston with top 6 protection this season, unprotected next season, then becomes a lottery pick. And the draft will be October 15th, and NBA draft lottery will be August 25th with an October 15th draft. If we ever get started back, Drew, it's going to be really busy on the sports scene. Yeah, we got to get started back. We definitely do. July 31st can't come soon enough, and hopefully baseball will figure out what they're doing and get started before then. And we sure hope that in a week from today, flawless first round, flawless Schwab, flawless for the PGA Tour to get back. We will talk more NBA, and that will be up next with Keith Smith. He's on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. That will start our hour 2, and that's next on Sports Time.
The landscape is so beautiful at Town Village Audubon Park. Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $24.50. The gourmet chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, monthly coffee club, theme dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
Hey, clones, you've heard me talk about Walmart delivery before, but now Walmart has the fastest delivery service yet. Walmart Express Delivery. Get groceries and more delivered from their door to yours with no contact delivery in 2 hours or less. Zero markups. Same low price as in-store. Don't let work, kids, an at-home workout, or whatever else life throws at you right now get in the way of getting what you need when you need it. Try Walmart Express Delivery today. Restrictions and fees do apply.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Dave out today, Drew in for him. Co-hosting with me on this Thursday afternoon, Carl Morse doing a terrific job producing, and we're getting ready to talk the NBA return. It is about as set in stone as anything gets these days. We largely don't have a lot in stone anymore. I don't like the fragility. I don't like the apprehension, but there are a lot of things out there I don't like, so I guess we can take a little apprehension and a little fragility from the world of sports. But we sure have had it with the NBA out front leading with the 22-team return to Orlando. Playoffs will be 1 through 16. And we think we know how it shakes out for the Grizzlies, but we want to get more information on it. And we do that now with Keith Smith. He's on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. He's written for Yahoo, Real GM, the Celtics blog, the front office show, and he was with us last week, and terrific. And it'll be home games for you, or rather backyard games for you in Orlando as the NBA will descend on Disney World. Good afternoon, Keith.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Yeah, backyard games is an understatement. I live about a mile and a half from the Disney property, so I am about as close as you can get.
And it will be a lot of basketball. We visited with you last week, and the specter of matinee games, early afternoon games, noon games. It could be basketball going on every waking moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it's going to look a lot like NBA Summer League, but on more of an East Coast schedule. So there are talks. Games could tip off as early as noontime or 1 o'clock Eastern, and then go all the way through the evening into that 10 and 10:30 window for those West Coast games and those primetime games and the like. They're going to do everything they can to keep those West Coast teams in those late windows so that their fans in their home markets will see them at a usual regular time for them. But the East Coast teams and those teams in the middle of the country, they're going to slot into some of those earlier time frames. And then once we get that's for the regular season, there's going to be 88 total regular season games played, then maybe a couple of playoff playing games, and then we'll head into the playoffs. Playoffs should look more like a normal schedule, but we'll ultimately see what that looks like as well.
Keith, hopefully by the start date of July 31st, we are way more advanced in understanding of exactly what COVID-19 is. But if it only took one positive test in Rudy Gobert to shut the league down, how would the NBA justify keeping the restart going if they did have multiple positive tests?
Yeah, I think it's part of what's going on there is it's a very different environment now where I think we have a much better understanding of, what the virus is, how to combat it if someone does get ill, how to try to keep people from getting ill. Whereas when the NBA shut it down, that was right in the middle of, we were all figuring this out on the fly, and there was a shortage of testing and ventilators and everything else. And the NBA, out of an abundance of caution, as did everything in the country, basically shut down and said, all right, we're going to, close up shop here and we'll figure this out. Now their plan here in Florida is going to be to test them when they get here, test them daily while they're here. And if one player comes down with coronavirus, then Adam Silver, when he talked to the players and the Board of Governors, he, with both groups said, if we're all saying one test will shut us down, then let's not do this. And it wasn't in a snarky way or any kind of, negative way. It was just, then let's, choose to go a different direction. Let's not do this. And they all agreed, no, one positive test, we'll treat that like an injury or an illness. That player will go be down for a couple weeks, most likely, and then we'll move on. The question that still seems to be unanswered is what happens if it's, 6, 7, 8 guys from the same team or an entire team gets sick. What is that going to look like? And the word there is that they will then at that point they probably consider that an outbreak, and you have to treat that much differently. But as it stands for now, the hope is get them here healthy, keep them healthy, and finish healthy.
I wonder, Keith, if with the NBA medical, and you touched on it, is it a finite number? Is it a percentage of what would constitute a cluster, an outbreak? And if it impacted 9 players on a roster, that certainly would be defined as something. I wonder if they have established back channel, maybe not for the public realm, a certain number of that.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I know that they've been heavily engaged since really discussion started to ramp up of let's do this with several NBA teams and several teams. They're the team medical personnel, league medical folks, as well as independent medical officials, as well as the players and the players union. They've all been engaged in working through this. So I would not be surprised if they've got more details on what are being released to us publicly right now, and that's part of what's still being finalized before they can put it together in kind of big giant document for everyone to see and to kind of put out there for the world. But my assumption would be that they've been working on that all along.
Mm-hmm. The vote came out today, and it was obviously 29 in favor, 1 against, and the one against was Portland.
There's always one.
Why do you think Portland was the one that voted against it?
Yeah, what I was told is it's not that they were against coming back to play. They're very much in favor of coming back to play. They didn't like the format. They didn't like the 22-team format with the 8 regular season. By all accounts, they wanted to do the 20-team group stage, World Cup style, was what they preferred. That was what they wanted to do with that. So they exercised their right to say, hey, it's not that we're against coming back to play, and we'll be there. It's just we would have preferred to do it a different way.
Keith, let me preface this with I am a homer, and I think the Grizzlies got hosed, and I will enjoy it a lot more if the Grizzlies advance. What do you think on all those subjects?
Yeah, I think the NBA did about as good as you could do with a compromise here with bringing in these teams that are in the playoffs, but still honoring those teams that had already done work. For the Grizzlies, teams have to make up ground or at least keep even essentially where they're at right now to even factor into a play-in, because Memphis has a 3.5 game lead, if I remember correctly, for that final playoff spot. So the way it's going to work is there's only the play-in if you are within 4 games of the 8th seed, and then how it works from there is The 9 seed needs to win twice, while the 8 seed only needs to win once. So I think they did a pretty good job of handicapping it so that the current teams in those playoff spots have the best chance of making it in, while giving the other teams a fighting chance. Because one thing that unfortunately got taken completely out of the mix was remaining strength of schedule, where that was pretty unbalanced the rest of the way. There were a few teams coming up behind Memphis, New Orleans, and Portland in particular, who had very, very easy closing schedules against some teams that were far likely to be let's call it playing for draft position versus trying to win games. And the Grizzlies' schedule was pretty tough down the stretch.
Yeah, with the 8-game regular season that they're going to resume, I wonder how motivated some teams are. I mean, you think about it, and possibly as far as lottery drafts go, some teams that could go 0-8 could ultimately improve their lottery standings by coming out to play. How does the NBA combat somewhat of a, if you lose your first 4, might as well lose the last 4 to tank?
Yeah, so how the lottery is going to work? They released those details today. It is locked in as of what it was when the season paused. So these 8 games for the teams that don't make it into the playoffs, they effectively don't count for them. They'll go back to what their record was before, what their place in the draft lottery was. Because that was a question with the Washington Wizards. If they have a real uphill fight to be anywhere close to making it into the playoffs. So the thought was, well, what if they just said, well, let's lose all 8 games and improve our lottery position? But the NBA took that off the table. You're locked in to where you were before if you fall back into the lottery when this comes up. As far as, though, the competitive balance, that is true, but it's looking more like the other way around. You're going to have those teams at the bottom. Those are the teams that are going to be fighting. They want to get into the playoffs. They want to be there. They want those extra games. They want to be a part of this, where the teams like the Bucks, the Lakers, the Clippers that are at the top, they're probably more likely to treat this a little more like a warm-up tournament style, or warm-up preseason style, rather, for themselves, as they're just looking to, make sure they're in the best possible shape for the playoffs. So I think you got to kind of, as everybody's looking at what these schedules could be, you got to look at it. And a game against the Bucks may not be as difficult as it might have been, a few months ago when the season was still in play.
Our guest on Sports Time is Keith Smith. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, it has been quite the tumultuous last 10 days since the murder of Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis. When the NBA speaks on social issues, on issues away from the playing floor, what NBA player, when he speaks, Keith Smith listens to? That really it really jars you. It really moves you when this player speaks.
There are 2, and they're younger players that have spoken up quite loudly in the past few days, and that's Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics and Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks. Both of those young men are guys who, sadly, when they were coming into the NBA, one of the knocks on them that was on their scouting report was they might be too smart to be basketball players. They have a lot of interest outside of the NBA. Basketball might not be, the most important thing to them. And I think, we need to stop with things like that. Those are not negative. Those are good things. We want people to be good, well-rounded people. And those 2 young men, wisdom beyond their years. And when they both speak, there's passion there, there's intelligence there, there is compassion, there's empathy, there's an understanding and a willingness and desire to educate those who maybe don't understand, the plight of the Black American in this country. And that is, something to me that has really stood out over these last couple of days. So anytime I see either one of them say something or post something, I'm going to read it and I'm going to give it a listen.
Mm-hmm. And the NBA as a whole has always done a good job of allowing their players speak out on social issues and issues that affect them personally and their communities personally. Why do you think the NBA has always been able to do better at that than other professional leagues?
I think the NBA has had a sense of community and partnership that a lot of the other leagues haven't. I think a chunk of it that comes in with them is when you go to an NBA game, if you're fortunate enough to sit in really, really great seats, you're right on top of the court. You're right there with the players. You see them. You say something
very
to them,
personal.
they hear it. There's a very, very personal touch there with the NBA. NBA players, too, largely because of their background, they, unfortunately don't always come from privileged backgrounds like players do in some other sports. Now, I know the NFL has that, the MLB has that, the national, every league has it, but the NBA has it at a very, high percentage. And those players, they don't forget where they came from. They want to take care of their people. They want to do good by people. And the league has recognized, especially over, I would say, really the last, let's call it 20 to 25 years, how important it is to give these players a voice for the things that are important to them. And beyond that, to support them in that. To not, it's one thing to let them speak, but then the NBA often puts their actions right behind the players and gets involved in their charities and the different causes that matter to them. And I think that's really important. Adam Silver has really taken something that David Stern used to preach a lot, which was it's everyone's league in the NBA. Everybody, has an ownership in this, but there is no league without the players, and let's never forget that.
None. No, it's just not even close. And a friend of mine texts me, and he probably was the original grand conscious of the NBA, and I bet you've had dealings with him with your work in and around the Celtics. Bill Russell. I mean, what he stood for, and when he spoke, you listened.
Yeah, absolutely. And when he still speaks, you listen. It's
and when he laughs, you laugh with that uproarious laughter.
True. Absolutely, yeah. My dad grew up on those Celtics teams, and Bill Russell's been his guy forever. And Bill Russell grew up as a young man in the NBA in a city that did not welcome him, and they would cheer for him on the court, but they didn't want him living in their hometown. And those things. And he's been very outspoken about that. And, I think he's done a lot for players. And I think another thing, going back to guys like Bill Russell through the generations, the NBA is very good about the players handing it down to the next generation and learning from them. Now, they may pick on them about things on the court that, you're not as tough as we were, and the league was harder to win, when we were in the league and those kind of things. But off the court, that is as united a group through the generations as you have in professional sports.
Yeah, Keith is another guy not playing now from a previous generation, speaking out on everything going on right now, is Michael Jordan. And for somebody who is known for not sharing his personal opinions on politics or social injustice and things, how important has it been for the league and for the entire nation that he actually is speaking out against this?
Yeah, it's huge. We just saw over the several weeks run of The Last Dance on ESPN how important Michael Jordan is still to this country as a sports figure. And, he has, a stake in the NBA, clearly as an NBA owner of the Charlotte Hornets. And, that is, an important position there. But I found it kind of heartening that he's really kind of embracing his role as Michael Jordan. In a sense, Michael Jordan, Charlotte Hornets owner. He's speaking up and saying, and he's been a guy who has tended to be a little more quiet, on a lot of subjects throughout the course of his playing career, and then since he is retired. But it's good to see. The thing for me that gives me hope is the amount of people who are speaking up, both there and then the public support that many of them are receiving from people. And it's I look at. Here in our family, I look at my own daughter, and she has a very diverse group of friends that would never consider anything but they're her friends. Well, why would anybody, think anything bad of them for any reason other than, anything that they do as a person? And I always say, we can learn a lot from our kids if we just shut up and watch them once in a while. They generally tend to get it right.
And, Keith, it's just amazing that we can be out at sports. We can be at a playoff game. We can be at a college football game. We can be at a pro football. We can be at anything in sports. And we have that unity, that sense of togetherness pulling for our team. And then we too often head right back to our corners when we hit that parking lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think, it's human nature. We are, creatures in a lot of ways that live in the moment. And when you like the things I like you. And when you don't like the things I don't like you. And, and I think, there's a lot of things to be drawn from if we just listened a little bit more to what the other guy was saying. And it's not to listen to say, I understand, because we don't. It's more to say, I'm listening, educate me, help me learn, because that's what it's going to be. I don't know what you're going through, necessarily because we don't live the same life. We didn't grow up the same way. But I can listen. I can learn. I can be there for you. Even if it's just as simple as I just need to talk, then that's a big role that all of us can play.
One last thing for Keith Smith talking NBA, and you can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. When do we start getting down to the nuts and bolts of the last team standing? I asked Drew about an hour ago or so, of the 22 teams that will assemble in Orlando, how many are really thinking we're going to hold the Larry O'Brien trophy at some point when a champion is crowned?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. As the season was kind of ramping up for the playoffs in mid-March when everything shut down, there were about 7 or 8 teams that felt, hey, if things break right, we could really make a run at this. There's no Golden State Warriors this year. There's no inevitability hanging over this thing of that team's going to win, and we'll be lucky to beat them, and those types of things that are out there. There are teams that believe in, and it's interesting talking with some of those players and coaches over the last week as this has looked more and more like it's coming into be reality. Those teams, their confidence is now even higher because now there's no home court advantage to work against. There's a lot of teams that believe it. So I think we're going to get a really good competitive playoff. And I truly believe at the end of this, whoever is standing there, we can believe they were the best team this season because they're going to run a gauntlet that's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
So
agree. Keith, I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Just real quick. So you think that there should be no need for asterisk talk?
No, absolutely not. This is, for me, if we had done something.
Yeah, not around
like
NBA for me either.
Yeah, no, a single elimination tournament or something crazy like that, then fine, I'm willing to listen. But we're going to get full 7-game playoff series, and I think, the best team, whoever comes out of that, every team's in the same boat in this. Every team's coming from the same place. Whoever comes out wins, then it's important. Now, I reserve my right to change my mind if an entire roster is wiped out due to a virus outbreak or something unfortunate like that. Then, we can talk. But, as long as everything goes off as everybody's hopeful it will, no asterisk for me.
Keith, we got to get you back a bunch. Thank you for your time last week and again this week, and we will do it a bunch between now and the conclusion of the NBA season. As soon as that one concludes, 21-22 will begin on December 1st. Thank you for your time today, Keith. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Y'all stay safe, you and yours.
Thanks, Keith.
You got it. Keith Smith talking NBA with us. Normally on Thursday afternoon at this time, we go inside Hoop City with Elliot Perry talking Tigers and Grizzlies. Elliot couldn't join us today. He was in meetings all afternoon at the National Civil Rights Museum, as Elliot is truly one of the community leaders. And right now, very, very, very busy with a lot of things going on. Elliot will be back with us next week. He was very sorry that he couldn't be with us, but he'll be back next week. And, Drew, at this time, we certainly understand.
Yeah, we certainly do understand. If I completely understand. Elliot is one of those people that, you talk about NBA players. Nowadays, when they speak, you listen. For me, especially in this community, when Elliot Perry speaks, you listen because he knows what he's talking about. He's been through not just as a person, but as a player, and has been a great leader for this community, not just in these struggling times that we find ourselves in, but before this, and will always be a leader in our community.
This is home to him, and he loves it. And we've missed him today, but we appreciate Keith Smith's time in talking NBA, and it will have the feel. He said this. It will have the feeling of the most competitive summer league of all time.
Well, and if you're going off of past summer leagues, Grizzlies did win the summer league last year, so we got a chance. If it's going to feel like the summer league, it's the Grizzlies' year.
Hey, Grayson Allen would have been MOP, or certainly the most controversial player in Summer League last year. And we'll see how it shakes out for the Grizzlies. If they advance, of course it's going to make it more fun. And I won't say we'll be more engaged. I think everybody during this down period, that once it gets back, the engagement will be quite easy.
Yeah, it's going to be easy. I mean, just to show you how strained we all are for sports, Braddock. A few weeks back, I probably sat on the couch and watched the American Cornhole League for 4 or 5 hours, and fell in
What
love.
was our great line about the bags? What was the great line we used to have?
Oh, I can't remember it. Right,
I can't remember.
But yeah. I'm all on board with the ACL, and what was the guy's name? I just thought of it. There's a guy named Jay who
I've watched No Bags.
Is the best ACL player. I want to say it's like
He's the
Jay
guy you don't,
Burden or something like that. He's the guy you don't want to mess with. He's the Michael Jordan.
You don't want
to
run into at a 4th of July party or tailgate playing the bags. Yeah, let me be clear. No asterisk whatsoever around the NBA, unless that caveat that Keith had as well of a team just truly decimated by the virus. But I think if we got to that point, we'd probably have the plug pulled again. Baseball, I'm not giving them that break. We will talk baseball with Tim Doolin about 4:30 or so, but I want to tell you now about the commissaries, the Germantown commissary and the Collierville commissary. The new Collierville commissary, Houston, Levy, and Poplar, are the original in Germantown. Memphis-style barbecue and ribs, delicious, authentic Memphis-style, great food. They go slow, and you can begin your barbecue. You can go slow and have it all there. Begin your barbecue feast with some great appetizers like the cheese plate or the terrific tamales or the barbecue nachos. The smoked chicken wings, they're fantastic. Then dig into the ribs or the barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich, a big gigantic sandwich, or you can get it on your plate. It comes with beans, slaw, deviled eggs, bread as well. You can even order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack, and we often give away 6 packs of barbecue from either commissary, Collierville or Germantown, on this show. Don't forget about the salad, the chicken plate, the barbecue shrimp, the wonderful hot tamales. They're all dressed with chili, cheese, and fresh onions. And the best desserts, the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere, and the terrific banana pudding. 901-754-5540, 754-5540, online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown, and now in Collierville with the great party areas, orders to go, everything safe, everything secure, and you're going to start thinking about tailgating come football season, whether you're having to watch the games at home or if you can get out for the traditional tailgate. Don't forget about the Germantown and Collierville commissary. Our friend Walker Taylor, he has done it the right way at the Collierville and Germantown commissary. Baseball, they're not going to get their act together. I'm convinced neither side wants to play. We'll weigh in with Tim Doolin. Drew, we talked earlier about being angry at them when we'd go back. I'll be angry, but I'll go back. But the anger will be there. The resentment will be there for a long time. The owners, I want to side with the players, but I don't think the owners I just don't think they want to play.
I don't think they do either. I think there's something behind all this where they feel like there might be a monetary gain from just not playing or something. I don't know. It's just a hunch that I have that there's got to be some other reason, because why wouldn't you want your product out there on the main stage, especially when you're not fighting anything right now? This is your time of the year. So why are you basically giving up your spotlight, your center stage on the sporting gear for just over a few dollars? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and for how much money these owners and Major League Baseball has, we're talking pennies and dimes and dollars. We're not talking millions of dollars.
It's cushion money.
We're talking cushion money, and for them not to even want to come to the table and have a civilized discussion, it just makes you so angry when you know what kind of stockpile of cash they're sitting on, and they're not willing to give up just a few for their fans and for their product and for the sport. That's what makes me so mad. And I'd like to say the anger will always be there for the owners. Obviously, with my owner Angelo, one of the worst owners in
baseball
in all of sports. But as soon as I get back to Oriole Park at Camden Yards, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to have a smile on my face watching my Orioles play. And I'd like to say that the anger will still be there, but as soon as I get that scorecard in my hand, a cold beer in the other, and there's baseball right there in front of me, I'll just be happy.
They know they have us. Will 2020 join 1994 as awarding no World Series champion? From 1903 through 1993, there was a World Series champion, not one in 1994. Will we have one for 2020? We'll talk with Tim Doolin about that next on Sports Time. We'll be talking baseball with Tim Doolin.
Aston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Summer is open, and Lowe's has everything you need to create backyard memories all season long. A new fire pit, tents, and some outdoor gear means camp is on. Build a fire pit yourself with wall blocks starting at just $1.38. Download the Lowe's app and find everything from tents and lawn chairs to Yeti coolers and drinkware starting at just $24.99. Make summer at home the best it can be with Lowe's. While supplies last, contiguous U.S. only. Selections vary by market.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me Saturdays 8 to 9 a.m. for Sidelines here on Sports 56 WHBQ, 87.7 FM and 96.1. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, and your favorite team. Give us a call. That's Sidelines, Saturday mornings 8 to 9 a.m. Sidelines is presented by Duncan Williams Asset Management. So get up and give us a call.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
About halfway home on this Thursday afternoon. Dave will be back with us tomorrow. He's trying to master the game of golf today. We set the over and under at 84.5, and we easily went over. It could balloon into the embarrassing 90s and maybe even triple digits, higher than the temperature, Drew.
It could be a sad day for old Wolo out there, but it'd be easy money for us. I think he at least shoots 88.
And to the shock of no one, the formal announcement, the NBA G League canceling for the remainder of the season. I failed to get that in earlier. Some good news, really good news locally. 901 FC season will continue, getting ready to relaunch with that. So we will have some action at AutoZone Park. It won't be baseball, but it will be soccer. But we were hoping that we could get baseball resolved. We knew long ago that the minor league seasons were going to take a tremendous hit. They have. Now, will the major league season take that hit? Enjoying 1994 is not having a World Series champion or even a game played this year. We talked baseball with Tim Doolin, and Tim Doolin, I don't know anyone optimistic. I hope that you can be, but I know more than anything else, you're going to be realistic with us. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's
and it feels cloudy, doesn't it?
The realistic version's not good. I tell you what, it's I've been on the phone the last 3 or 4 days dealing with all the upcoming drafts and everything, and I don't know. I sense that it's going to come down to the wire, and I don't know they would announce a drop dead date, but it's closely approaching us. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim, I'm definitely not on the optimistic side for baseball. Players, managers, players and owners, everybody seeming to make me mad some way or the other. But which do you think hurts the sport of baseball more in the long-term sense, the not having a season this year or the destruction of the minor leagues that we're currently seeing?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, that's a tough one. I tell you, it's disheartening from a former player's perspective, knowing what minor league players go through, the amount of commitment they put in, and and when you talk about pay equality and the amount of hours that minor league players are putting in and the amount they get paid, it's ridiculous. It's not even minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of those guys to not only lose their jobs and get released last week and continuing to them not being able to play this year. I had a phone conversation with a dad whose son is in the minor leagues, and some of these guys are wanting to play, period, and legally can they go play in like a men's league, or are they owned by the club even though they're not getting paid? So, I mean, there's all kind of things that from a negative standpoint that have happened, and to answer your question, I think it would be more devastating for the major leagues not to play than it is for the minor leagues. Obviously, the minor leagues are affecting a lot of small town communities that depend on the economic impact and the jobs created, and the tradition of having minor league baseball, like Stats talks about how long it's been since there hasn't been minor league baseball in Memphis. I just think for the good of everybody involved, these owners and players have to come to some form of an agreement to get this thing going and get started and play and bring some energy back to all of our lives. And so I'm optimistic from a hopeful standpoint, but realistically, I still say it's probably less than 50-50 that it happens.
Yeah, it feels like with every passing day for around the 4th of July 4th start, they wanted to have everybody back around the 10th or 11th of June. Well, that's next Wednesday or Thursday. Clock's ticking. And, Tim, unlike a lot of labor impasses in the past, we had and there were a lot of different sides of it, but you had some real boogeymen. You had some real guys that you could kind of have the blame game played with, whether it was Donald Fair or Marvin Miller from the labor side or the management side, whether it was Bud Selig or Bowie Kuhn. It's really not the one poster guy for the holding it up. It almost feels like it's in unison not wanting to play.
Yeah, I think so, and you're exactly right. Here's what I do think that I'm a little bit I've thought about today is it makes me a little bit more hopeful, and maybe that's all it is. But I think the fact that the NBA is making an announcement that here's when we're starting, and like you said, the 901's coming. So you're getting in race car, and you're getting golf, and you're getting these teams saying the other major league sports are saying we're doing it and we're starting on this date. I hopefully that forces the owners and the players union to say we can't afford to take two steps back, like we did years ago when we had the strike and the lockout. So that part of me makes me think that they've got to get a way to figure this out.
If they don't figure it out, I mean, how far of an impact could we see? I mean, could we see a shortened season next year just due to the fact if you can't figure it out now, when are you finally going to do it? Do you think they do ultimately get something figured out by spring training next year?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so, because if they don't play this year, they are going to be in dire straits to try to figure out how to get the fans back, because the fans are going to be bitter. Mm. They're going to be bitter at both owners and players, and I don't blame them because we've all been impacted by this pandemic, and not just financially, but emotionally, and all the things that we love about our country and the freedoms that we have and the luxuries we have and the ability to go to sporting events has been taken away from us. There's going to be some bitter fans, and it's going to take it'll take a while. Brett can speak to this more than I do, because he's as an avid fan as there is in all the sports, and it's just it takes a little bit out of you.
It is made me weary, but Tim, Drew and I both have talked about I'll go back because if nothing else, I'm a sucker. I gotta have it. I want it. I miss it so badly day in, day out. A lot of the things that most people, especially younger people these days, that make them averse to baseball, the tediousness of it, the day in, day out of it, the monotony of the games, the box scores. I mean, Tim, who wants to learn in reading a box score on who made that? I can look at a box score and tell you who made the last out. Nobody cares about that anymore, except for old guys like me. But I miss every bit of that, and I'll go running back. I'll jump right back into their arms, and they can batter me some more.
Well, I'm the same way, but unfortunately, I would say we're the minority of the not the majority.
Yeah. No, the majority will speak, and it will hit the owners where they most don't want to get hit, and that'll be in the pocketbook. Tim, if there's not if we don't play a pitch this year, there's not a game played, there's not a World Series champion. If we don't have teams contracted coming out of this, then those owners all lied because they're all in great financial shape.
Well, I think we talked about this last week, Stats, and I think the average fan needs to know this. If I were the players union, I would be letting this stuff get out in the media, is that, the owner owns the franchise. And I would say the majority, if not all of the franchises, appreciate in value every year. They have, and that's why a lot of these guys have bought the franchises and held on to them, because they continue to appreciate. So yeah, and there's every industry in America goes through cycles of where they have a down year. So this is a pandemic that's caused this revenue to be a down year for the owners. They'll bounce back. Their clubs will still appreciate in value. Whereas a player, if Yadier Molina's last year is this year, and he's making $20 million, after this year he cannot make $20 million again in his lifetime. So people need to understand that it's not apples to apples. It's the owners are in much better shape financially than the player is, and that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ultimately, I'm mad at both sides just for not having open discussions about everything. It seems like both sides are just heels so dug in, and always thinking that the other side is conspiring against them. What ultimately does it take to get some actual conversation going to where it's not the owners giving a terrible plan to hurt the players, and then the players aren't responding to that with the best way to hurt the owners? How can we come to an understanding?
Well, obviously, I'm not that smart, and if I were, I sure would try to give my advice.
I'm not either. That's why I asked you.
I think the problem you got is that the owners, they can say they would agree to a revenue share. That they're really not agreeing to a revenue share, because for a revenue share to be agreeable, you have to open up the books that are true, tangible, legitimate books, and they're not. And that's why the owners for years have never opened up their books. So that's a moot point, because they're not going to open their books. So how do you come to an agreement when the players have already agreed to take a pay cut? Keep that in mind. They agreed that early on, and now the owners are coming back saying, we want more. Well, the players come back and say, we'll play 120 games this way, under this scenario. The owners say no. The owners don't want that now. So and again, and Stats and I've talked about this before, prior to all of this, I'm not a fan of Manfred. I don't think he's a true leader. I think he's more concerned about with the sabermetrics and speeding the game up and doing things that are not true and relevant to the game. To try to speed the game up. I'm going to the game. Most fans go to games to enjoy the atmosphere, the ambiance. They already know they're giving up 4 hours.
They're not looking at their watch.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, oh, I'm going to go to the game today because it saved me 30 minutes. For what? 30 minutes of what? So that to me has never been an important issue as some of the other things in the game. So
we're talking baseball with. I'm not either. We're talking baseball with Tim Doolin. We do it every Thursday during baseball season. I hope we can continue it if there's any season. I know I'm madder at the owners than I am at the players. And I'm not going to play the class warfare game, because they all have money that most of us can't. Most of us within the sound of my voice, we can't imagine that kind of money. And same for the players, but the owners, the real generational money over anyone born over the next 200 years into those families, they're going to be in good shape. One thing I do deeply resent, that a lot of places the values go up exponentially because of the public financing of new ballparks, of new stadiums, and it's been done. I mean, it's the slot machine of making franchise values go up. You go out and put it on the back of the good hardworking taxpayer in said community, and watch those values skyrocket.
Oh, well, no doubt. I mean, that's just another point you make, is the fact that the owners took advantage of public money. I know you can't blame them, because they're creating economic impact, jobs, and all those things for those cities. Mm-hmm. But for them to woe is me to the players about all that, it just, to me, that we've got to come to a compromise. And I can't. I have to lean toward the side of the players, because of what I've mentioned about earning potential and power and all those things. And again, whatever the players took it in the shorts right now, they're going to take it again when the new CBA comes around, because they've shown weakness. So it's a bigger picture than just resolving it today. They're going to set precedent one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last thing for me, Tim, with the draft next week, obviously a very small sample size draft of what we're used to, only going to be 5 rounds next week. Is that going to be closer to the norm? Are we going to start seeing maybe a 10 to 15 round draft?
I think you're going to see probably 20 rounds next year. And then after next year, hopefully we'll have all of these issues in our society somewhat under control. I do think that I think reducing the draft was a wise choice from 50 rounds. I don't know what the magic number is, but it's probably somewhere between 20 and 30. It's very unfortunate for players, because there's going to be a lot of kids that are not going to get drafted this year that traditionally would have, and having an opportunity to play. And you can say very few guys make it to the big leagues that go past this round, but very few guys make it to the big leagues, period, less than 1%. So, but there are guys, Pete Rose, Mike Piazza was a 56th round pick as a favor to Tommy Lasorda, because he was his godfather.
Keith Hernandez.
Hall of Famer. Okay, so
yeah,
it's tough to take that dream away from those players that might have a career year in college, their senior year, and get a chance. Next thing you know, they're in the big leagues. So it's very tough. Yeah, there'll be some independent team leagues that will be considered professional baseball, but it's even tougher getting out of the independent league and getting to an organization, and then moving your way up through the organizational chain and getting to the big leagues. So it's going to be, obviously we've got Blaze Jordan here in Memphis in South Haven that's going to go really good in next week's draft. But it's even changed the whole philosophy of how teams are drafting this year versus their traditional philosophy of what they look for, and whether it's college players, high school players, best player available, etc. So it's going to be an interesting 2 days of the draft with all the uncertainty in how these clubs choose players. I think what you're going to see happen is they've got 5. Most of these teams have 5 picks. They're going to invest in their top 2 round guys, and then hopefully get some guys for a discount in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round.
Tim Doolin talking baseball with us. We will do it again next week, and we hope we can continue throughout the summer months and into the Fall Classic. But if we can't, it won't be on us. Tim Doolin, thank you for your time today.
You got it, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Tim Doolin talking baseball with us. We round out this hour. To start hour number 3 will be Charles Davis, Vol for Life, on Twitter at CFD22, to talk about the life and times of Coach Johnny Majors. He played for him in the 80s, and his assignment next football season on the NFL on CBS. He will be the analyst alongside Ian Eagle all next football season. Charles Davis at 5 o'clock. We wrap up this hour next. You're listening to Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Family Leisure's here to make staying at home more enjoyable for you and your family this summer. Complete pool packages starting at $15.99. 24-foot pools only $19.99. 4-person spas starting at $19.99. Swim spas starting at under $10,000. We are offering contactless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup. Give us a call to schedule an appointment or to place an order. Stay safe with Family Leisure.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes, always for free. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
I want to invite you to come by the Spirit Shop. You know, that little log cabin on Poplar? Your liquor and wine oasis. The Spirit Shop has been providing sports fans their beverage needs since way back in 1969. So come in now and get ready for the big game. Whether your favorite team wins or loses, the Spirit Shop will help you celebrate or ease that pain away. The Spirit Shop is open every day, and they're located perfectly at 4848 Poplar. That's the corner of Poplar and St. Nick.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles, when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Lemon Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC-accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Lemon Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
To yours, Wolf Chase Lim and Brace.
I've always wanted to learn another language, so I decided to give Babbel a try, and I really like the teaching method of the app. I started with the beginner lesson on Babbel, and soon you're putting words into a conversation. Each lesson takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different, which keeps things interesting. I can't wait to use my Spanish skills in real life. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com or download the Babbel app. That's BABBEL.com.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
67129 at the First Bank text line. 67129 at the First Bank text line. 360-8255. Hit us up at the First Bank phone line. This texter says, and I so agree, I think he says, or she says, I think that baseball is missing a golden opportunity to re-engage a sports star public. This is a great opportunity to expand your fan base because people have taken sports, particularly baseball, for granted. Drew, that's a little bit of how it cuts on the other side of my tediousness and monotony, and it's there every day. Do we just always think it's going to be there? And one time for you, that ballpark, Busch Stadium, it was always there for you, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you broke in it.
I did break into that. I didn't want to bring that back from my not top story. Yeah, I actually I don't want to tell the names of people that I was with. I was on a baseball trip when I was playing showcase baseball.
Rat them out.
No, because one of them was being paid by a major league team, so I don't want to rat him out.
No. Bad idea.
Yeah, so I'm not going to rat him out. But this is when I played showcase ball for Vision down in Olive Branch. We were on a trip into St. Louis. We broke curfew, snuck out at the hotel after hours, jumped the fence, realized that nobody was there. It was about 4 or 5 of us. And it was basically, without the alcohol, the scene from Bull Durham where they run around the bags in their street clothes and sliding into the home plate. I phantom pitch from the mound. We snuck into the bullpens, into the dugouts. Even saw the rally.
Old or New Bush Stadium?
New
Bush
Stadium.
Stadium.
New
Right?
Bush Stadium. Yeah, this is back
You
in about
know they have security cameras.
Yeah, they do, but we didn't really think about it. This is only back in 2012. Saw the rally squirrel out in center field. Had a grand old time and forgot that I had done this up until Sunday. I was back at my parents' house. They're cleaning everything up, trying to downsize for a new house, and I was going through some old stuff and found a cup of dirt that I didn't realize I'd actually taken from the warning track at Busch Stadium. I found a cup of dirt from Busch Stadium over the weekend. Unfortunately, this man caused damage. We did not cause damage, and luckily we did get away with it with just a story and no arrest record.
Well, and you were lucky because cameras everywhere.
Yeah,
now,
we didn't even think about it. We didn't even think. We just kind of looked around for security. We saw one little light on above, maybe in like a suite above the press box. Didn't really see anybody and just kind of had the stadium to ourselves for about 20, 30 minutes. Didn't want to push it. Didn't want to stay until we got caught. But definitely one of the best road trip memories I've had from baseball.
Our man Dave Wolo reports to us from his round of golf that we set the over and under at 84.5. He blew us away. 40 on both sides. 80.
Oh no! I need
Jerry
a card.
Rice.
I need a card. I need some photos.
Dave won't lie. Dave won't lie.
I mean, we've been trying to tell him since last year that we gave him golf because we did, and he won't believe us. So why am I supposed to believe him?
Well, because I think he knows we're full of it.
We are.
And we're going to get him this year on the golf picks. Another good text at 67129. Texter said, I'm a big baseball fan and huge, all caps, Cardinals fan. But right now I'm both ashamed and embarrassed to be a fan. I'm losing interest for a potential season with each passing day. It's very sad. Texter, I hear you. I don't know that I would use those words, and I don't want to get too nitpicky, but here's my standard thing on any time that a fan uses embarrassed with their team. I never do. I mean, no matter what it is, NCAA irregularity, a loss, something, a real misstep in a PR optic, and it started with Drew. I've told this story. It started with in 2010. Opening day, Ole Miss opened and lost to Jacksonville State. Had a 31-13 lead with about 13 minutes to play. About 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, cruising, opening day, FCS team, everything going fine, and they ended up losing in overtime that day. And I had a friend of mine text me after that game that day, and said, "Are you embarrassed?" And literally, no, he called me, and I literally said about what? We just got through doing post game. I thought, did
you say something?
Was
did
the
I
mic
make a
open?
mistake?
Did I cuss? I don't think I did. Did I not? And I went, no. And it was a friend of mine in Houston. I said, no, Jay, I'm not embarrassed. Should I be? About what? He said, about Ole Miss losing to an FCS team. I went, well, no, I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. I'm sad. I certainly would like to. The game had ended at the 13-minute mark of the fourth quarter. But no, I'm not embarrassed because I didn't have anything to do with the outcome, and that's why I wouldn't say on this one. But I hear you, and you can have your own feelings. I'm neither ashamed nor embarrassed. I'm plenty damn mad though.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything my personal team's ever really done that full on embarrassed me. Now, disappointed, maybe not want to rep the colors for a few days. Definitely, that's happened on every team that I root for. But I understand where the fan's coming from, being a fan, and it's honestly embarrassing. As like I said earlier, there's really throughout the 162, there are no casual fans. So when you are a diehard baseball fan like us and like the texter, you already feel like you're having to defend your sport and defend and tell people why you truly love it and have to defend it all the time. For when something like this comes up, it's just like, why have I been defending owners and players that seem like they don't even care? Why have I gone through the trouble?
Yeah, I try to reserve to use his words. Now, you have a right to feel however you want, But I try to reserve my shame and my embarrassment that I've had plenty of in my life
can control.
For my actions, the things that Brett's in control of, the things that I am in control of, not necessarily my sports teams. I have mostly with my sports teams, I let them take me on the high rather than the low. I've enjoyed most of the good, and when it's bad, I'm not in control of it. Now I wasn't in control of it on the high or the good either, but embarrassment and shame is not what I'm feeling toward baseball. Good old-fashioned irritation I'm having plenty of with baseball. When we come back, we start hour number 3, and we do it with one of our favorites, one of Memphis's favorites, one of the state of Tennessee's favorites, Vol for Life, Charles Davis from CBS, NFL on CBS. He's next.
The folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai want to say thank you. Thank you, Memphis, for another spectacular year. They set records, but I can understand why. You think about the product. Where else do you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty? That's what you get on every new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Oh, and thank you again for the 11th straight year, the #1 certified pre-owned car dealership in all of Memphis. It starts with that product, but then it goes to the shopper assurance. Where else do you go where you get transparent pricing, flexible test drive? Take the car for a couple of days if you want. Streamlined buying process. You're not going to be there all day, in and out. And then, and I have not seen this anywhere else, the 3-day worry-free exchange. You buy a new car, if you've got any buyer's remorse, you've got 3 days to change your mind. Just get on Lamar. Take it into Mississippi. The first exit's Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hey, it's me, your cousin, from Boston. I'm on the radio doing ads for Sam Adams. Now I'll be known as the Sam Adams guy instead of the dude who fell in the quarry. Sam Adams Boston Lager is crisp and refreshing, which is why I bring a 6-pack wherever I go, except the movies anymore. Sam Adams, from Boston with love. Here's the legal part. Watch how fast I can read. The Boston Beer Company, Boston, Mass. Drink responsibly. Now, is that 30 seconds? Are we even close?
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303.
Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Dave out today. He will return tomorrow. Drew Barrett co-hosting with me, Carl Morris producing, and we will visit with Charles Davis from NFL on CBS and A Vol for Life about the life and times of his coach, Coach Johnny Majors, and some NFL conversation with Charles as well. Old number 22 for the Tennessee Vols and player for Coach Johnny Majors. The sponsor of this hour is DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Visit them online at DeSotoAutoSales.com, 662-890-7184. You get to DeSoto County and you get to DeSoto Auto Sales and you're treated like family, but kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. They want you to have the ultimate car experience. They care about your time. Well, they know we're living in a world today that time really matters, and you walk in, you find the car you want, test drive it, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in about 45 minutes in time to do it over your lunch hour or immediately after work at DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road. Every make, every model. If they don't have it, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken, and you will be treated like family. All the cars test-driven, all the cars checked out from bumper to bumper at DeSoto Auto Sales. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience that you can enjoy at 5704 Goodman Road at DeSoto Auto Sales. Charles Davis joins us now. You can follow him on Twitter at CFD22. That's the number he wore for the Tennessee Vols and the number that he wore playing for Coach Johnny Majors. Charles, I know you are heartbroken to lose your coach, 85 years old for Johnny Majors, but I know you're more buoyed by having had him in your life.
Yeah, that's well-stated stats. And hello, guys. I hope you're doing well. And you and yours and everyone can hear our voices. But you stated it, pretty spot on. Heartbroken to lose the old man. He's meant so much to me in my life. And, from the time I reported to Tennessee in 1982 to right now, this very moment, there hasn't been a day gone by I haven't thought of him in some form or another or realized the influence he's had on me in different things. And I've told people it's not like you sit around every day and think, what would Coach Majors do, right? When you have to make a big decision, it's not always that dramatic. In fact, most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's just a general realization. Something comes on TV and it triggers a reminder. Something happens with your kids. You're out for a walk. You're doing your own normal work. You're traveling. Different things, different times. But he is totally imprinted on my life. And, it's good now for Coach to take his rest because it's his time. But, boy, I'm going to miss that man. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, Charles, terribly sorry for your loss and the Volunteer Nation's loss in Johnny Majors. And I know it's going to be hard. This is going to be a hard question for you to answer because I know how much coaches mean to their players, especially college coaches, high school coaches. But when you think of Johnny Majors, what would the first main lesson that you think you'd learned from him when you got to Tennessee?
I learned that nothing was going to be easy, and nor should it be in a lot of ways. I know it gets to be kind of trite sometimes to say that nothing comes easy, and if it did, it wouldn't be worth having anyway, right? All those lessons we learn from our parents and our coaches. But you find out how much you care about something. You find out how much you truly want something when you go through difficulties. If everything's easy, does it really matter to you? You're going to surrender it easily, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of what you learned from Coach, right out of the gate. And he and the staff did a tremendous job of making sure you understood that these things are important. And what we're out here doing is important for us, and it's going to be important for you. Otherwise, you're not going to be out here for very long, okay? We'll find someone that it means something to. And that was kind of like the first thing you get from him. And then, of course, all the rest of the lessons come in. But it's not always a lesson in terms of, okay, guys, sit down. I've got a lesson for you today. A lot of the lessons are just in observation, just in daily life, just in interaction, just in hearing what he had to say, things of that nature. And look, every player and team and an era that has gone through the loss of that coach. And you can pick your sport, right? Football, basketball, baseball, track, whatever it is, where you've had that bond. When this thing happens, when that day comes, we're all getting together. We're all swapping stories. We're all telling, lies, like we like to say all the time. We're all remembering when Coach got on our backsides about something and what he said, and some of the stuff that you come out with is absolutely priceless. And there are a lot of the lessons that are in that, not just in terms of him saying, okay, here's our lesson for today, guys, like we're getting a lecture. A lot of it was just in the general day-to-day, what he said to you in the heat of the moment. And then the best coaches coached you hard, and then they loved you harder. And he was one of those guys as well. Put that arm around you, when you least expected it, and told you did a good job. And guys, when coaches like that tell you did a good job, because it's not like they do it every day, all of a sudden you swell up to Paul Bunyan proportions and feel like you're walking on air. And you're always trying to get that approval out of him.
And you badly seek that approval, and you badly want to show them that you can produce and that you can play and you're part of the team. And, Charles, you're so right about all the walk down memory lane. I'm sure it's been a flood of emotions and memories. Do you remember the first time Coach Majors was in your home and maybe an assistant coach with him and with your parents and making the pitch for you to come be a member of the Tennessee Vols?
Yeah, it would have been January of 1982. He was in my home with the assistant coach by the name of Steve Marshall, who had been elevated to a full-time assistant. A number of guys had left in that offseason to go other places, and Coach Marshall gotten elevated then. And he never actually coached me at Tennessee. He signed me, and then he took a job at Marshall, believe it or not. Marshall. So how perfect is that? But he was in my home, and it was a big deal. This was Johnny Majors. My high school coach about lost his mind. Like, you got to be kidding me. He's coming to visit you. This is unbelievable. Coach Majors, obviously legendary now as we talk about him after he's passed. But think about Johnny Majors if you're a high school football coach in America during that time frame, right? Had already won a national championship at Pitt. Had almost won a Heisman Trophy as a player. People knew who he was. The $6 million man, Lee Majors, took his stage name because of Coach Johnny Majors, because he remembered Johnny Majors as a ball player and idolized him, and that was the stage name he took, Lee Majors. I mean, that's who this man was sitting in my living room in New Paltz, New York. That was a big deal. And, my dad's from West Virginia, my mom's from Tennessee. You get the whole idea there. It was like the king.
Big star.
Come roaming into our home. It's like Elvis had shown up because of our circumstances. Now, if we were, a California family, right? If we were in Big Ten country, still would have been a big deal, but maybe not quite the same. But sure, about two Southern parents who knew who this man was, and I'd always wanted to go to Tennessee. Yeah, it was a big deal in my little burg of New Paltz. That's for sure.
Charles, I love to hear about the in-home visits and how parents get excited about the coach that's coming in. But you're right. From his playing days, your parents, they knew him as big-time on-the-field star, but also as a champion coach. What's the happiest you ever saw him in a post-game locker room after a win? Was it on a third Saturday in October?
It's always on a third Saturday in October. I mean, my goodness. I mean, when he got there, obviously we had been in a major struggle, and Alabama being, kind of like Alabama is right now. Bear Bryant in Alabama, and they were laying the wood to just about everybody, and even down the stretch, they had a streak. By the time I got there in 1982, it was 11 straight years Alabama beat Tennessee. So we upset them my redshirt year of 82 in Knoxville. I think they were number 2 in the country at the time. And as it turned out, it was the last time we competed against Coach Bryant, because he retired at the end of that year, won the Liberty Bowl against Illinois. And, obviously went into retirement. Unfortunately, a month later, had passed away. And then in 83, we go down to Birmingham, back when we played them in Birmingham. And we hadn't beaten them in Birmingham in 11 seasons, and we beat them there. And to see Coach Majors, to win those games, see, this is why he had come back. This is why he'd been enticed to come back to Tennessee, to beat Alabama on the third Saturday in October, to win the SEC, to win SEC titles, to compete for national titles. In 82, we weren't there yet. In 83, we were closer. 84 is a little bit of a disappointment. We won 7 games in the regular season. 85, we shocked everybody, and I think even ourselves a little bit, and finally won that first SEC title for Coach. And then, of course, he repeated in 89. He went back-to-back 89 and 90 before his time was over in Tennessee. So that's why he had been brought home. But you have to remember, New Paltz, New York, Pitt, Eastern Conference, East Coast football, Penn State ruled the roost, and he got Pitt to that level. And I just think, guys, if you look at it now, look, him coming home seems like a no-brainer, right? Johnny comes marching home, back to Tennessee, the alma mater. I wonder in 2020, when we've seen a number of coaches actually go home, doesn't always go so well, does it? It's always harder to go back home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would he have looked at what he had at Pitt, coming off of a national title, looked at that loaded roster, looked at the recruiting he had, and remember when he turned it over to Coach Jackie Sherrill, who did a terrific job there, then at A&M, then Mississippi State. I think Coach Sherrill went 33-3-1 the next few seasons there. It was set up for Coach Majors to have a really long, prosperous run because remember there was no Big East football then,
sure did.
right? It was independent football. There was no Penn State going to the Big Ten. Miami wasn't a power yet, right? Not a superpower, right? I mean, there's a lot going on that he could have run the East for a long time and competed at the highest level as they did with Jackie Sherrill. But that calling to come home was very similar to Bear Bryant saying, why'd you leave Texas A&M, Coach? Mama called. And Mama called Coach Majors home, and thank goodness they did.
Yeah, Charles, thank goodness, for Tennessee Nation that he did answer that call because, like you said, when Mama calls, sometimes it turns out great, but a lot of times it doesn't. But ultimately, we are really just a few days removed from Johnny Majors passing, and the university hasn't gotten there, and they've got plenty of time to really think about the right way to do this. But how would you personally like to see the University of Tennessee honor Coach Majors in the upcoming season?
I don't have any specific way because he's had so many honors in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that there are a whole lot more things that we quote-unquote need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to name a building for him? Do we need to do this? I don't know that that's there. He's already, Tennessee. Major's name is going to resonate forever when you talk about Tennessee football, and how we do things. That part's not a real big deal. I hate the fact that guys, and I hate this for everybody who has passed during this COVID time for us. Because my grandmother taught me this lesson a long time ago. She said, Charles, life is for the living. Okay? She said, I know that sounds trite and it may seem dumb, but some people get to live while they're here. Live while you're here. And she said, and by the way, when I'm stretched out in that box, there's not another thing you need to do for me. But the funeral is important for those who are still there. You need the comfort, right? You need to hear the stories. You need to see the people that had affection and love for that loved one of yours that you just lost. You need that comfort of each other and that closeness. Well, no one can have that now. You can't have what you normally have in COVID. Can you imagine what the funeral would be like for Coach Majors if we didn't have COVID going on right now? It would
it'd be like a state funeral.
Exactly, essentially a state funeral. I was around in 1982, early 83, when Coach Bryant passed. Okay? And you have to understand, as you guys know, Southern football, that those Giants who coached those teams, that was a whole different ball game, right? When he passed, I remember we were working out in the weight room, and word came down that Coach Bryant had passed in Tuscaloosa, and Coach Majors said it canceled everything else immediately the rest of the day out of respect and honor for Coach Bryant. And you remember what that was like. Everybody showed up for that bad boy. That's what it's like for those Giants that we continue to lose. And, we lost Coach Dye from Auburn on Monday, another good man, a person I got to know post-playing career and know his son and right on down the line, and then Coach Majors on Wednesday. I was just joking. I was like, poor God, because God's up there like talking to the disciple saying, "Now, well, let me get this straight. You sent me Guy on Monday and Majors on Wednesday. Can a brother get a breather in here a little bit? Because
Yeah.
they're up there, they are up there raging already." And just think about what it's like going up there, and I'm thinking about all my Tennessee people there to greet him. But that's what it's like. That's what it would have been like. But he's not going to get that send off that you would have expected for one of our great icons in the SEC.
And it's one of the real shames of the virus of what it's done to weddings and what it's done to funerals, and it's really sad that it's done that.
Yeah.
Charles, I want to tell you about.
Yeah, this wreaks havoc on everything we've done. High school graduation. Think about all the kids.
Horrible.
We don't talk about athletics. Think about high school itself. The science fair you didn't get to attend, and you had the best project, right? Your final play, your school play, where you were gunning for that, where you're going to the county choir finale, right? The band finale. Everyone had a reason, a purpose, something going on that was taken away from them, and it's infused itself all the way through our lifestyle. Funerals are another one, and I use Coach Majors, but just think about any loved one that we would have right now. We can't honor them the way that we want to honor them. It doesn't matter who they are, how highly they're thought of by the masses, or just by that family itself. You can't do it the way you want to. I couldn't attend a teammate's funeral for his dad. I mean, you can't be there for your own teammates and for the people that you love because you can't have that type of closeness or too many people, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a sad thing all the way around. Anyway, enough of my soapbox. Sorry about that, Seth.
I agree. And, Charles, we have a link to Coach Majors and his father, Coach Shirley Majors, the longtime venerable coach at Sewanee. I have a very close personal friend that played his freshman year, fall of 1977, at Sewanee for Coach Shirley Majors in his last year. And then in the springtime of my friend's senior year, Coach Shirley Majors passed away at 67 years of age, and it was the state funeral for him. And he said Coach Johnny Majors and that family were so nice to everyone in the Sewanee University of the South community.
Well, they also understood who they were as a family and what place they occupied. And, Coach Shirley Majors has been doing it for a long time, so you talk about a lot of players and people who revered him and wanted to be back there for that. And the Majors name had resonated for a long time in that part of the country, hadn't it? So, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the Kennedys, but in our football world, essentially it's
close in football.
That part of that country. Mm-hmm. In our football world in that part of the country, that's what you're talking about. Those are the people that you're discussing. So, yeah, it's a tough one and a tough time, but I will say this, guys. I haven't told very many people this because Coach made me sit on it, but now that he's passed, I don't think he'll mind. You guys might remember he wore normal coaching gear for the early part of his career at Tennessee. And do you remember he finished up wearing coat and tie?
Very dapper.
Like his father did. We were on a flight going to media days in 1986 in Birmingham, and I said to him, "Coach, you ever thought about wearing coat and tie on the sideline?" And he kind of looked at me. He said, "Well, my father wore coat." I said, "I know. I've seen the pictures." And I said, those coaches, they had a bearing about them. There's a regalness to them. And we just talked for a few minutes, and he, kind of reminisced. And then the season opener was against New Mexico that year, and I'm getting dressed. And he comes by in his coat and tie, and he leans in real close to me. He says, "After the ball game, anybody ask, I'm just going to tell them in excitement, getting ready, I forgot to change." And he gave me that look. And that look that means you don't open your big trap either. Okay, this idea is now my idea, not yours. Shut up. And he wore coat and tie from that moment forward until he retired the second time at Pitt. And I've always thought, if there's one connection I've got with Coach, it's that one. But typical of Coach, it was his idea, not mine.
We're visiting with Charles Davis, and we will see him this fall on our TV sets on Sunday afternoon on the NFL on CBS. He will be alongside Ian Eagle, and you will be in a coat and tie. And, Charles, I know it probably won't mean a lot to you because you're not an affected person whatsoever, but it will be to me. I will be proud as I can be when I see you with that CBS blazer with the eye on it.
Thank you, Stats. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Looking forward to being next to Ian Eagle. I've been blessed with the play-by-play partners I've had in my career. I mean, since I got to Fox, I've been with Tom Brenneman, Dick Stockton, Gus Johnson, Kevin Burkhardt, and now moving over to CBS with Ian Eagle. I don't know that a color analyst could be any luckier than a guy like me to stand next to those people and be able to work each and every week. So, yeah, I'm pretty fired up about it, pretty excited, obviously nervous because I want to do a good job and justify being there. But this is pretty cool for a kid from New Paltz, New York, because CBS meant a lot being in the New York area growing up with the Daly family and that eye. So this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the Tiffany Network. It's been called that, and it is. That's the network of Cronkite and Roger Mudd and Jim Nance and so many others. And now Charles Davis will be there on Sunday afternoon, and we will be watching. We'll visit long time before then, but have a great rest of the summer. I know the memories have been fond and a flood of them over Coach Majors. And thank you for your time today and walking down memory lane and sharing them with us. Thank you, Charles.
Hey, thank you guys both for having me, and all the best to you and yours and everyone who can hear our voices. Everyone continue to stay safe out there, and we're going to find a way to get things going again in the right direction for all of us, because for the most part, we know how to do this right. And right now we got a little bump in the road. It's actually bigger than that, as we well know, but we're going to get it figured out. I have faith in all of us. So you take care of yourselves, guys. Be good.
We have to. Thank you, Charles. We
Thanks,
really
Charles.
appreciate the time. Charles Davis talking football and Tennessee football with us, and it will be fun. Appointment TV every Sunday afternoon next fall, as it has been with him with Kevin Burkhardt. I thought they were just dynamite together, and Ian Eagle really good on any sport, and Charles with him. He gave a lot of credit to his play-by-play guys, but we all know it takes two to tango. It takes the good play-by-play guy and the great analyst. Why in the world would Monday Night Football not be looking at that team to be in their spot, as it has been so listless through the years with their cast of characters, Drew?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully, and we're still not 100% sure who's going to be on that Monday Night Football crew this year, and they've got to make decisions. There's contracts of everybody else are
start
signed,
promoting
so they're going to have to figure out something. And I think Charles will do a great job on Monday Night Football. And Charles says, talking about the play-by-play guys, ultimately, I think it's much harder to be an analyst than it is to be play-by-play, because for play-by-play, I've got to tell you what's happening. The analyst, he's got to tell you why it's happening. And I think the why and being able to say it in few words like an analyst has to do, because you have to get the why and how into such a small time, that type of craft takes a lot of work to perfect, and he's done a great job of it.
And now with this hurry-up, no-huddle football that we're in, it really cut the analyst. Yeah, it really cut the analyst time out, and how Tony Romo so successfully separated himself in the analyst world was not the why, but when. He got it's coming up. I mean, he almost clairvoyant. He was like a tarot card reader. He was so good. Charles, he looked in it and was always right, and Charles right there. Charles Davis is from a generation of Tennessee football players, and there are a lot of Tennessee football fans out there. They're more seasoned than the younger ones. Drew, and I know this probably seems a little bit foreign to you. Still, for them, the game is third week in October. It's Alabama. I know Florida means more, and it kind of sets the table on the SEC East, and since we went to divisions, that really matters, and it probably matters more in the grand scheme, and it sure matters more to the younger fans. But I don't know what the delineation is, but to more seasoned fans, third Saturday in October is magical in both worlds. The cigar game, and historically marked by a long run by one team, and we are in an Alabama domination run right now.
Yeah, as people in my generation probably haven't been able to see the greatness of that rivalry, but when you know it as, and growing up knowing it as the famed third Saturday of October, you know that it ultimately did mean something. You go back through the record books and see the great games, see the records between Tennessee and Alabama, and I think it still does resonate a lot to the younger fans just who understand the history of it, because you don't get a name like the famed third Saturday in October for nothing.
Yeah, it really matters. And this year, one of those anomaly years, it will actually be on the fourth Saturday in October if we play, but it will get referred to that week kind of as just general conceptual as third Saturday in October, but it will actually be on the fourth Saturday in October this year when Tennessee and Alabama, when they play, with an Alabama grad as the head coach of the Tennessee Vols and Jeremy Pruitt trying to beat his mentor. The pupils of Nick Saban, they've had no success against Nick Saban. We'll see if Jeremy Pruitt can break that streak this year. When we come back, we'll talk SEC football and college football and coaching. The old saw, the great player, can he make a great coach? Well, Johnny Majors, that we've talked about him a lot over the last few days. We've mentioned Steve Spurrier. We will have more of that. That's up next on Sports Time.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
The folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai want to say thank you. Thank you, Memphis, for another spectacular year. They set records, but I can understand why. You think about the product. Where else do you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty? That's what you get on every new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Oh, and thank you again for the 11th straight year, the #1 certified pre-owned car dealership in all of Memphis. It starts with that product, but then it goes to the shopper assurance. Where else do you go where you get transparent pricing, flexible test drive, take the car for a couple of days if you want, streamlined buying process? You're not going to be there all day, in and out. And then, and I have not seen this anywhere else, the 3-day worry-free exchange. You buy a new car, if you've got any buyer's remorse, you've got 3 days to change your mind. Just get on Lamar, take it into Mississippi, the first exit's Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our season all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis in the alley since 1948.
Do you get into bed and find your mind still going? If so, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's liquid melatonin. It's made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next day grogginess. Pure Z's liquid melatonin, because sleep is a beautiful thing, at stores now.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Home stretch on a Thursday afternoon. Dave will be back with us tomorrow at 3. We've got a lot in store for you tomorrow, including our regular Friday afternoon visit with Bruce Marshall from the Goal Sheet at 4 o'clock. Tomorrow we'll visit with Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian. He's new on the Grizzlies beat, and it's got a lot going on. Rex Hoggard from Golf Channel at 4:30 with us tomorrow, and Andy Schiffman, our NBA analyst, with us every Friday tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock to talk the NBA about to start back, and we are all ready. You just heard the recorded rendezvous spot. Tomorrow, the rendezvous reopens. First time the restaurant will be open other than for takeout and shipping. Will be the first time back open tomorrow for regular hours at the rendezvous from 11 in the morning until 8 at night, and they'll be open 5 days a week starting tomorrow. Normally, consistently will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 o'clock until 8 o'clock. There will be social distancing. The restaurant's going to be configured to comply with all that. And for the first time, the rendezvous, they've heard it through the years, they've listened, and they will have. Now we'll have desserts and all the traditional great menu that we've always had at the rendezvous. And it starts tomorrow at 11. And on Fridays, they'll have the red beans and rice for Friday lunch, just like normal. You can always call and make a reservation if you would like, but it's not required. Or if you'd like to get it curbside instead, you still can, down in the alley at the rendezvous. And that's where I'm going to be tomorrow at lunch. And I am looking forward to the rendezvous reopening after all this. And we have been through as a country a lot, and we have missed our things that we so enjoy, and that's one for me, one of the biggest for me. And I'm ready to be back with my friends tomorrow on Friday at lunch at the rendezvous. Drew, we talked a lot early in the week about Coach Pat Dye and Coach Johnny Majors, and I was looking at the SEC football coaches from the football season of 1982. Well, that's 38 years ago. That's a long time ago. And I would dare say in 38 years, if you look at the football coaches from the 2020 season, there will be a lot that have passed away and passed on. From the 10-team SEC setup that year, only 10 teams in the SEC, there are now just 3 coaches that are still with us from that year. Coach Vince Dooley at Georgia, Jerry Stovall, who had a very short stint at LSU, and Steve Sloan was the coach at Ole Miss. The very next year, the late Billy Brewer, he took over in 83, and we lost Coach Brewer a couple of Mays ago. So, but over 38 years, that's how it happens, and that's what Charles Davis was alluding to. If you bring in the schools that are now in the SEC, like Arkansas, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Missouri, those coaches in 1982, Lou Holtz, Richard Bell, Jackie Sherrill, glad they're still with us, and Warren Powers at Mizzou. He's not. That was Jackie Sherrill's first year at Texas A&M, and it was Lou Holtz's next to last year at Arkansas. And with the great players to go on and be a great coach, Arkansas's had one. It just wasn't in the SEC years. It was in their Southwest Conference years. But Ken Hatfield was a great player and probably the most famous play, one of the top 2 or 3 for darn sure in Razorback football history, his punt return against Texas in 1964. And he went on to be I think a great coach, 20-4 his last 2 years at Arkansas, and really good coach at other stops, Air Force before Arkansas, and even good years at Clemson, and a decent year or 2 when he was head coach at Rice at the end of his coaching tenure. Now, that wouldn't rival Spurrier and Johnny Majors. Vince Dooley was a great player at Auburn, of course, a long time ago. I mentioned Jerry Stovall. There was a time that Jerry Stovall probably was second or third best LSU player ever behind Billy Cannon. Everybody got topped by Joe Burrow. I don't know if Joe Burrow is going into coaching, but if he does, he would definitely have checked the box of great player.
Yeah, he definitely would have. And, when you see all the coaches that were great players, especially at their alma mater, we talked like with Charles, when mama calls you home, you try to go home.
You go.
But it ultimately, it's a sad story, and that's one reason why, just to switch it to other players in other sports, when Penny Hardaway was announced as Memphis head coach, I wasn't
your first reluctance.
I wasn't against it, but I was hesitant to it because, he's only going to finish the job one or two ways. He leaves on his own after accomplishing great things, or you have to fire the guy, and you never want to have to fire that guy. I mean, ultimately, I know Larry Porter wasn't as big of a Memphis legend as Penny Hardaway or any of the guys that you rattled off, but Larry Porter was a good running back for the Tigers back in the 90s.
And a good person.
And a very good person and a great recruiter. So while he may not have had the clout as some of these other guys that you rambled off, especially not here in Memphis as Penny Hardaway, it still kind of sucked to have somebody who bled for you on the field just not work out and ultimately really, really not work out.
And your reluctance during those days of that spring when it was appearing that it was about to go down and did, you were all for it, but you did. You were one of the few, Drew. You were one of the few that would stop and go, well, what's the downside?
I mean, if they could kill Larry Finch.
And we saw the downside with Larry Finch.
Yes, if the city is willing to kill Mr. Memphis basketball, I mean, they're not going to hesitate and blink twice to do it to Penny. And that's the thing that I'm always scared about in the back of my mind. Every season going forward, it will always be that way. Unfortunately, Memphis has a lot of fans that are just as ready and just as excited for when things go wrong to jump down the throat of the coaches, of the players, as they are excited to see them succeed. And that's you have those in every fan base. And if they're willing to do it to Larry Finch, the biggest star in, I think, all of Memphis athletics, not just basketball, but every single sport.
I agree.
Then they won't hesitate to do it to Penny.
And it was awful. It was awful. It was awful to see him in failing health. It was awful to see him come up. And we know what happens when you come up a little bit short in recruiting. Mm-hmm. You come up way short in recruiting. There's no silver medals. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It's the ultimate pass-fail. Then there's no need to go through the names and even pillory or come close to ridiculing those players for the decision they made. They had to make their decision, live their life, but it stung him. It stung him, and it hurt him, and it hurt those of us that grew up, being Larry Finch in the backyard and watching him play, to see it end like that. And at the hot dog stand at Freedom Hall of all places, it was just one of the sorriest finishes and mishandled situations ever. But Larry Finch, he was that. He was great player that was great coach.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I don't have the media guide pulled up in front of me, but you look at his record. I mean, obviously didn't get to a Final Four. That was a little disappointing, but
Elite Eight, all-time leading winner when he left.
Yeah, got to the Elite Eight, had great seasons, was in the tournament year in and year out. I mean, ultimately didn't get over that last little hump, but there's nothing more you really could have asked from the guy.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, or I think I alluded earlier to. No, I didn't. I did it. I was on another show today in Tuscaloosa, and I mentioned him. Kirby Smart was not great player, but he was really, really, really good player. And he's already had a really, really good coaching tenure. If he goes on and wins, let's say, a national championship, that's the same amount that Vince Dooley won at Georgia. Would he qualify as great player that was a great coach? Good enough player that was a great coach?
I'd say good enough player. I mean, because Kirby Smart, just for me personally, I guess, just when you say Kirby Smart, his playing days really don't even register in my mind. The first thing that comes to mind is head coach Kirby Smart. I think he'd be on the fringe of getting in that category. He was a good ball player, but I don't think you'd put him in great player, great coach conversation right now. And ultimately, until he does get that one championship, right now, especially at Georgia, he's going to be fighting the ghost of Mark Rich until he can get over that. Because as of right now, he really hasn't done anything for that program that Mark didn't do.
Yeah, and in college basketball just last week, we were so pleased with the news of the recovery after being hospitalized from the virus for Patrick Ewing. Great player.
Great player.
He's almost like Penny Hardaway there. Just anything short of a title, they're going to feel a little left wanting, maybe a little disappointed. And if it had to get ugly, wouldn't that be sad?
It would be really sad. And I think right now the Patrick Ewing tenure at Georgetown hasn't been very good. I mean, I think if you're
he's had one more year though.
Yeah, but I think if you're comparing the tenures, I think you would put Penny ahead right now.
Yeah, his start's better.
Just in recruiting, right off the bat, Penny's definitely got him on that. Regardless of what's been going on the court, I think Penny's done a better job. But Patrick Ewing definitely is one of the greatest players in Georgetown history, and I say probably maybe at least the top 50 college basketball player of all time.
Oh, maybe definitely top 50, maybe even better than that. And it's when the big men rule the world, rule the earth, rule the sport. And he was so good and a 4-year guy. We'll just never have that. He could have come out for the draft and been a top 5 pick or better any of those years, and was the number 1 pick with maybe some chicanery around the lottery night that night.
Might have been a little frozen balls.
Might have been back at that time. But for college basketball, I'm trying to think of who is the coach that you would call great player. Now, John Wooden, I mean, it was just so darn long ago. It feels like it was right after, they got the peach basket out when he played at Purdue. But he was considered a great player, and the coaching sure speaks for itself. Nolan Richardson played college basketball and was good, but not great. Same for John Thompson. Same for Mike Krzyzewski. Roy Williams didn't even play college basketball. He was a student manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in college basketball. I can't really think of one right off the top of my head of a good.
Bill Self
of a great
was good, but not great at Oak State.
No, I think just in college basketball, coaches mostly aren't the players. I mean, mostly they're the end of the bench guys, the
grunts,
the Josh Pastners of the basketball team.
Yeah,
it'd be the perfect example.
And I love those kind of guys, and you have to have them. You have to have them to run practice. And I didn't mean to almost go Allen Iverson there, but you need a lot of those types as the grunt player. John Calipari played at a smaller division school, Clarion State. Rick Pitino was not anywhere near a great player. Bobby Knight played on some great Ohio State teams, and he was good. But John Havlicek, I think John Havlicek was there. We're talking any of them, Carl. You got one? Phil Jackson was good. I would never call Phil Jackson great. He played on some great teams, but a little bit like Bobby Knight, that cast around him, Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, Earl Monroe, Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere, Dick Barnett. I don't know if they could have done what they did without Phil Jackson, but they could have made a run at it. But he was good. Steve Kerr. Was Steve Kerr great?
That was next.
Yeah, he won championships both with Chicago and San Antonio.
Big shots?
I wouldn't – big shots, yeah, you're right. I was about to say I wouldn't say good, but I wouldn't say great. But
great at his role.
Great at his role, exactly. That's the best
good
way to put it. Great at his role.
And Steve Kerr was a great college player at Arizona and great at his role in the NBA. Now, Bill Russell was player coach of the Boston Celtics, and
that really doesn't count.
But
do we give Jerry Stackhouse one more year to at least see where he's going to be after this season comes up?
Oh, he definitely gets at least one more. But he was a great player. So if he ends up being just a decent coach, he'll be. Yeah, we give him one more. Vanderbilt has had the bad luck they've had in that program the last few years with lottery picks going out, and they don't go out during conference play. They go out on like the third night of the year.
Yeah, they've been just killed by the injury bug in the last few years. But when we talk about the two best coaches, I think examples that we brought up were Phil Jackson and Steve Kerr as good to great players being great coaches. But the thing that they have in common is NBA. So I think the NBA works better for great players to be great coaches because the talent pool and those type of guys actually can do the things that they used to be able to do. And it wasn't such a big reach to ask somebody to do it just because you could do it.
Here's one position to check both boxes. For sure, great college player. And when you play 13, 14 years in the NFL for a couple of different teams, but you got to AFC championship games, and then you coached in a Super Bowl as a professional coach. If Jim Harbaugh wins one title at Michigan, he goes in as great.
He does, but I don't think he's ever going to win it. I don't. I think if he hasn't done it by now, and if he hasn't gotten any closer than he has by now, I just don't really see it happening for him.
But he could have won a mountain of games, but not a title. Would that deprive him? Would that keep him out? Would it be exclusionary?
I really think you got to win the one, or at least in today's today's atmosphere, you got to at least make the playoff. And if you don't win it, you got to make the playoff more than once, I think.
He says they've been really close, though.
Well, really close only counted.
What did I miss?
I thought close only counted in horseshoes and hand grenades.
And in parallel parking and in slow dancing.
That too. That counts.
Close really counts. On that note, we're close to the end of this show. We'll wrap it up with Taco Bell Crunch Time. That's up next. You're listening to Sports Time.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
Oh, hi. Okay, guess we should talk about something. Kind of tough to be put on the spot. Not sure what to say. But I know what I'm definitely not talking about. Drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
With thousands of locally owned Napa stores across the nation, chances are that wherever you call home, we do too. So as America starts opening back up for business, and as more of us start getting back out there again, we'll be in big cities, small towns, and everywhere in between, doing what we've always done to help keep our local communities moving forward. So whether you stop by a Napa Auto Parts store, Auto Care Center, or visit us at Napa Online, you can count on Napa know-how.
Family Leisure's here to make staying at home more enjoyable for you and your family this summer. Complete pool packages starting at $15.99. 24-foot pools only $19.99. 4-person spas starting at $19.99. Swim spas starting at under $10,000. We are offering contactless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup. Give us a call to schedule an appointment or to place an order. Stay safe with Family Leisure.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Thank you very much, Carl Morrison. Great job today producing. Dave will be back tomorrow. Drew will go back to his seat tomorrow, but you've done a terrific job today co-hosting, Drew, and I really appreciate it. A caller at 360-8255 submitted Pat Riley as great player, great coach. Great coach.
Just had a caller that just mentioned him.
Unarguable, great coach. I wouldn't call him a great player. Really good college player at Kentucky and really solid champion winner with the Lakers in the NBA, but I don't know that I would
Would you
call
say
him
he was
great,
better than Phil Jackson? Would we put him above Phil?
As a player, I would, but he doesn't have near the titles as a coach, so it's kind of that balance. Hey, it's the July radio topic, and we did it in June.
Great. We're that good. That's how good we are at this.
And that's what we did, and we also did it during the virus. It's time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Boop, boop, boop. That's what you're getting.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Drew, what'd you learn today?
I learned today is there are so many things uncertain in sports right now. One thing I think everyone can agree on, and it's in golf. If the Ryder Cup was to be played without fans, it would be a boring event, and that's exactly what Steve Stricker said today when he was asked about it. He said the event is made by the fans. To me, if it was without fans, it would almost be yawner of an event. The passion, I don't know if it would be there. And Rory McIlroy also came out in the last few days and said the same thing. If there aren't any fans, why do we really play the Ryder Cup? Because that's what you do it for. It's the one tournament where fans are allowed to go crazy and nuts.
Yeah, and really hoop and holler like you're out at college football. That par 3 at Phoenix is one of the few times that the golf decorum is waived.
And they like
have
it.
some thoughts. So, yeah, and they do like it. They feed off it. The Europeans feed off of it here when they're really being heckled and berated. I learned today that NFL coaches can return to work tomorrow. Great, aren't we? It's so important that CNN is now taking that scoreboard down. You don't see anything about it. Our masks kind of show who we are is kind of gone away a little bit. Flattening the curve, that's all of a sudden become old news, and contact tracing doesn't seem like it matters as much as it once did. It's illustrative. It highly clear-cut proves once again why in the media can we kind of only do one thing at a time. It doesn't seem like we can ever multitask in the media? What is you could have done without today?
Well, I could have done without this today and pretty much any day in the last month or so when it's baseball. I'm just getting sick and tired of there not being one. It's not that I'm sick and tired of there's no agreement going on. What I'm tired of is there's no discussion going on. There's no
movement.
Nobody's coming to a table and saying, all right, let's see what I can give up. And
there's no
for you
table.
To gain and you to gain for me to give up. I mean, we have to come together at the table and figure this out. And that's what the frustrating thing is to me. It's not that we haven't started playing. It's that we haven't even come anywhere close to figuring out how we're going to start playing.
We haven't even rented a hotel ballroom to meet and discuss anything.
They haven't
Drew,
even gotten close to talking about testing or anything. You haven't heard a single report about COVID-19 when it comes to baseball.
I could do without the Ryder Cup. Probably won't happen. Rory McIlroy started it. And now U.S. captain and Wisconsin native where it will be held, Steve Stricker, his comments will probably doom the event. It's impossible to just move it. You can't just move the Ryder Cup to another city. I mean, it's years in advance of work on setting up the tournament, setting up the hotels and everything that goes with it, allow for the media. And the whole sports world really in jeopardy of losing its importance, of kind of being forgotten about. What are you keeping a close eye on tonight?
Keeping a close eye on more news of the return to the season in the NBA. Hopefully some speckle of good news from Major League Baseball, and really going to keep a close eye tonight and throughout the next couple of days. The student athletes return to campus. How many positive tests do we actually have?
I will be watching any baseball negotiations, any movement there. They've so far rolled out a fancy version of exhibition baseball. And how proud would you be to win it in a 50-game season and a 20-game postseason? It makes travel baseball look serious. I'm to the point, just go ahead and cancel baseball. But when you do that, get ready for contraction next year. If there's not contraction next year, then the owners have totally lied about the values and the power of their teams. They got plenty of money if somebody doesn't have to be contracted. I hate it for the city that it could come to, but if it doesn't happen, it was everybody screaming wolf for no reason this year. Dave will be back with us tomorrow. For Drew, for Carl, and for Dave, I'm Brett. Everybody have a good Thursday night. Great job, guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. How old is your water heater? With most of the water heaters in the Mid-South located in the attic, the worst day you can replace your